All right, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for you tuning in to the P Alpha or P Masculinity Show. I'm gonna really appreciate that for you guys. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. Makes it easier for me. A lot of this content does get a little bit chat banned since I started doing a lot of Kevin Samuels content right at the beginning. Now, of course, by you changing a lot of the niche and all that stuff, it just messed up with the algorithm. And also, a lot of those subscribers that I currently have are just simply like shorts. So the demographic are a little bit different. So by simply just liking the content, sharing the content, and commenting on my content, you help my channel. We're gonna simply react to two things actually. Um, we're gonna be doing a couple things here. We're gonna do Nick Fuentes talking about Trump's and bringing people from South Africa, right? But also we're gonna be talking about AI, and AI probably tried to delete somebody, or it was trying to justify the deletion of somebody if threatened threaten their own existence, which is kind of funny. We're gonna react to this, guys. We're gonna jump in here. Very interesting points here from Nick Fuentes. Shout out to him, because I don't agree with a lot of stuff that he does, but I guess that's just human at this point. But he has very good points regarding our current political landscape. Let's jump in. Let's see what's going on.
Excited to be back here with you tonight on Wednesday. We have a lot to talk about tonight, lots to get into. Big show. It's actually another slow day. Not going to lie. Very slow news day. Not a lot to discuss. It's another show that I'm on the road, and fortunately, this is going to be the last show this week that I'm not in the studio. I'll be back in the studio tomorrow with Alex Jones in the morning.
Let's go.
And then I'll be doing my show back at the regular place tomorrow night. So tonight is the last laptop stream, and it's actually good because the news has been pretty slow the past couple days. We're not really missing anything big. But our featured story tonight, we're going to be talking all about a apparently new decision in the White House that they're only going to import white refugees in the future. And I got to say, some of the stuff the Trump administration is doing, it is low-key kind of based. Okay, it is kind of tough. And I give you permission. It's okay to glaze Trump a little bit. It's okay to say Trump is based, because some of the stuff I just love to see. Today, the State Department is posting all these people that they've revoked their visa because they celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if you saw, but on State Department's Twitter account, they're posting one after the other. These are apparently visa holders in America from other countries who are laughing about Charlie Kirk, and the State Department
That's so sad.
Says on Twitter, visa revoked, we're taking your visas. I was like, okay, low-key shit's kind of tough. Like, okay, it's kind of awesome. And then today, and we'll get into this, the featured story is that they're only going to bring in white refugees, get this, who oppose immigration. So it's not even like they're bringing in white refugees who are liberal and gay. They're bringing in white refugees that are based and that don't want more immigration. And specifically, in some of the conversation surrounding the policy says they're prioritizing immigrants who will assimilate.
Correct.
And naturally, those are the white people. And I got to say, I like it. I just wish we got more and in a systematic way.
Slowly. We're going to get there slowly. You have to be very patient with this. You have to create a momentum, right? Hey, Phil Bradley, hoorah. Thank you so much for tuning in. So we have to create a momentum. We cannot just simply go from 0 to 100. We have to create a momentum. As soon as we get this momentum, thinking more that by the end of 2026, this is what the full effect is going to be taking part of. But right now, we have to create the momentum.
And I was talking to some friends earlier today, and I said, this is good stuff. Like ICE in Chicago and pushing down the protesters and revoking the visas of people celebrating Kirk's death and this. It's great stuff, but it's just not enough. It just feels like a school pizza party slice of pizza. It's like you get like a narrow, like little slice of pizza, Dixie cup full of Dr. Pepper. It's like, we need the whole loaf. We need an extra large,
Yeah,
extra
I know.
cheese. We need a 2-liter. Like, we just need more.
Yeah.
We need more detention centers. We need more militarization of the cities. Like, bring in the National Guard everywhere. Like, bring them at...
Well, we're getting there. Again, you have to create the environment. Remember at the beginning, Trump was trying to just go all the way in, and then you have all the judges coming in. Because I think culturally, we were having a clash. By having a clash culturally, these judges, they felt that they needed to just jump in and stop some of that momentum. Now you see the culture moving towards the right. Now you see the conscious having a different perspective of what is going on in the United States. So we have to create that momentum
Fuck it,
first.
bring them everywhere. In every major city, you know, they sent in like 400 guys to Chicago. It's a city of 3 million people. Send in 50,000. Send in 100,000 soldiers.
100%. Send them all.
And liberate the cities. Like, we don't have that much time. We're already almost a year in the hole here. We're coming up on January. That's 1 year. Midterms are next year. And it's just too little too late. You know, that's really my issue. But anyway, we'll talk all about this new policy. Sounds pretty good. And we have to sort of abandon the pretense. You know, it's kind of funny. We used to say, we probably said this, I don't know, like last week. People would say, are you against all immigration or just for non-white people? And you'd say, no, I think we should have no immigration from anywhere. Even from what, it's just enough. And now it's kind of like, no, we could use some more white people. Like, I'm actually, we could switch it up. We've had 30 years of all Indians and Mexicans. Now let's switch it up. We can bring in some white people. We can bring in some white people if they have the right politics. I'm good with that. Immigration moratorium unless it's the new policy. No, but that'll be our main story. We're also going to talk tonight about regime change in Venezuela. And I don't know what's going on there, but it looks almost like inevitable now. We covered this last week. I think we talked about it a little bit yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. But the Trump administration is now going all in, it seems, on toppling the socialist regime of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. They've been bombing these small allegedly these vessels involved in drug trafficking. Now, the announcement from the White House today is that they're going to begin land-based operations. Trump said we control the sea. Now we're going to bomb the land. And there's a number of B-52 bombers, apparently, that were circling Venezuela all day today. I was watching this on Telegram. And at the same time, Trump authorized the CIA to begin conducting clandestine operations inside Venezuela. We don't know the nature of these covert operations, but we can only assume they're probably paving the way for a regime change. And maybe they're doing political activities, maybe they're organizing some rebellion, protests. You take out USAID, you bring in the CIA, it's the same stuff. You know, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So we'll talk a little bit and give you an update tonight about Venezuela. And I have to say, I am in favor of doing something with Venezuela. But here's the problem. And I don't know if this was last night or if this was last week, but the story from the New York Times is that Rick Grenell had brokered a deal with Maduro that he was going to give us all of their stuff. He was going to give us their oil, their gold. That we
I don't
would
trust them. I don't trust Venezuela, man. I don't want nothing from them. I don't need nothing. Listen, I think the oil, current Venezuela oil is owned by China. So I don't know what the hell they're going to give us. It's what? They owe China, over 20 years of oil is... I don't even think we should just even make businesses with them. Just let them just collapse.
Partner in any future gold or oil mining operations or extraction operations. He said that he would completely abandon China, Russia, Iran, any joint dual-use infrastructure projects. And basically, Venezuela would align with Washington, which is what we want. That's what we've always wanted out of Venezuela. And by we, I mean the United States from the point of view of our foreign policy and the Monroe Doctrine, but they won't take the deal. And again, according to the New York Times last week, it was Rubio, the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor, who gets in the middle of this and says, that's not good enough. We actually have to topple the government. And I do believe that that should be a last resort because there's too many negative externalities, too many risks. We talked about it earlier on a different show. It's risks to the homeland. It's risks of instability that might cause a refugee crisis. That already happened in the first term. Why not just take the deal? So we'll talk a little bit more about that tonight. Should be a pretty good show. Before we get into it, I want to remind you to smash the follow button on Rumble, smash the like button, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the show.
Subscribe, like, comment, everything,
My hair's
guys.
a little messed up because I was wearing a hat. But how do I look? I have to say the camera hits different on the iMac. I don't know why.
All right, bro.
I was liking some.
Yeah, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that.
I also want to say before we get into the news, we have some great new products on the merch store. People have been asking about the merch, and today we just released a brand new flag. I think you're going to love it. If you go to fuentes.store, we have two new items. We have the Wang Half t-shirt, white ass nigga, going hard as fuck. It says Wang Half. I believe it's the Know Nothing flag. It says Native Americans beware.
Okay. This is the
access to the entire archive. $100 a month club at AmericaFirst.plus. You get to be in a group chat with me. And look, customer satisfaction not guaranteed. I'm crashing out in there constantly. You know, yesterday I was just telling everybody, like, fuck you. I'm in the group chat doing the show, and people are tagging me during the show. And they're saying, like, when's AFPAC? When are you going to be with Tucker? And I'm like, shut up. Go away. So, customer satisfaction not guaranteed. You might not like how I respond. I might not like you.
Hey, you know what's crazy? And sometimes you have to, when it comes down to customer service, it's better to be upfront of how you might just get your customer service. And that way you have no problems, in the future.
And you're not paying for me to like you. You're not paying for me to approve of your nonsense. And maybe I will, though, and maybe I will like you, but that's not a guarantee. It's $100 to shoot your shot. $100 to get the title shot. But I can't promise. In fact, actually, most of the people I think I don't like, actually. I think most of them I don't like. But if you go $100 in, you get to see if you'll be one of the rare people that actually like in the group chat. So that's AmericaFirst.plus. We're going to get into it. Before we do, I just want to say quickly, it seems that all the evidence now, to follow up on the show last night, and just a quick summary, last night we covered this article in Politico, and it's a lot of drama, it's a lot of nonsense, but basically there's this conflict in the Young Republicans, which it's like, is that even still a thing? Like, isn't that for teenagers? I don't know why people even care, but I guess there was a major rivalry in the Young Republicans between Gavin Wax, the former chair of the New York Young Republican Club, and some other guy. And they get in this big feud, they get in this big beef over a committee position. Who's going to be the committee man for the Young Republicans? Like, do you hear yourself? I want to look at Gavin Wax in his Jew face and say, do you fucking hear yourself? Committee man of the Young Republicans? Grow up. I mean, aren't you like pushing 30? You're still a young Republican. Like, get a job. He's at the State Department. Why do we need this? So anyway, Gavin Wax gets passed over for some stupid student council president position by this other guy. And in retaliation for having his valor stolen from him, he blows up everybody that's working for the other guy. And it's this group chat of about a dozen young Republicans, 7 months worth of messages, an archive. And they're making edgy jokes. They're joking about gas chambers and Hitler and watermelon people and monkeys and stuff like that.
Damn.
And it's harmless. I mean, it is just jokes.
It is kind of crazy, man. You have people just joking Stuff like this,
Today.
man. It is what it
But
is,
of
man.
course, now all those people are fired. As of today, every single one of those people has been fired. And some of them are lawyers, and some of them are in politics. One of them is a state rep. They're all over the country, and all those people have been fired. And these are, not all of them are white, but most of them are young. They're all young guys. They're all very conservative. I don't know if they're groypers, but I imagine they're mostly on our side. And I said last night, that kind of friendly fire just can't be tolerated. What kind of house of cards, faggot bullshit do you think you're on?
Damn, bro. I'm telling you, like Nick Fuentes.
I don't usually talk like that, especially not lately.
Yeah,
By that, I mean maybe in the past couple of years. But ever since Charlie Kirk got shot, it's sort of a wake-up call. I said this the other day. I'll just repeat it quickly. He got shot in the neck for being 40% as conservative as me. And they celebrated. They danced, they celebrated, they're marching down the street saying, he's a racist bastard, we're glad he's dead. You know, this is BLM, these are Antifa, radical left types. Gavin Newsom today said that the House should investigate the people in the group chat. He said that Congress should actually appoint like a subcommittee and investigate the people in the group chat. And Chuck Schumer is running with this, Gavin Wax's buddy. They're all the Democrats are running with this and saying it's not enough that we destroy their lives are ruined. We have to destroy everybody's lives who thinks like this. They want to investigate all Republicans, all young conservatives, all right-wingers, and find all the groypers, all the group chats, all the Hitler jokes, and wreck all those people. And you know that if the Democrats get in power, maybe they issue a subpoena. If they come back in the presidency, then they got the DOJ on their side. That kind of treachery, like Gavin Wax, has to be the op now. And I'm not calling for violence against him. I just want to make that clear because of the climate that we're in, obviously.
Interesting.
But this guy needs to be straight up blacklisted from everything. Needs to be blackballed. And I said...
Meaning because of the loyalty. He failed the loyalty test, right? He should have just approached these folks privately. And I don't know why men don't do this anymore. Sometimes stuff like this should be handled away from the cameras. But it seems like young men are just handling stuff like this right in the open. It's like a female energy, I would say. Females, they love the attention. They love the drama. I just simply don't understand why men are doing this. Simply don't understand.
This the other night. If you have his number, if you know this guy, it is your obligation to text him and call him and say, fuck.
Oh, yeah, we got it.
And I said that J.D. Vance said the right thing about this yesterday, and it's true, it was pleasantly surprising. Vance defended the young guys and said, you know, this is jokes. These are college kids making jokes. Meanwhile, on the left, they want to kill everybody. But it needs to go further than that. And there needs to be from the right wing. They're all canceling these people, by the way. The Young Republicans chapter, Mark Levin, like they're digging their heels in. They want these kids destroyed too. And I'm glad that guys like Vance and Matt Walsh and others, to their credit, they're sticking up for them. But it needs to go further. And people need to say, you know, maybe we can't repair these young kids' reputation. The damage is done. The screenshots are out there. We know what we know. But now Gavin Wax needs to pay a price. These dozen kids, they had their lives destroyed because they made jokes in the company of people they thought they could trust. Gavin Wax betrayed his own fucking side, his own people.
Yeah, that's
for no
true.
reason. It's not
For
like...
no reason at all,
you know,
man.
and you could argue these guys are being careless. But this is like, he fed them into a wood chipper. He fed them to the left and then brought down the heat on everybody. The Democrats now want to come after everybody because of young Republican bullshit. Now this guy needs to have his life ruined. But I'm going to tell you something, and this is a red pill for every young white man in politics. Listen to this and listen well. Gavin will never be held accountable. Never. These young guys, they're done. Dunzo. Forget it. You know, these dozen guys in the group chat, their lives, their careers are ruined. They'll come back in some form in years after they apologize and eat shit for a long time, and maybe they won't even work in politics. They'll be lucky if they get some other job.
Or like a podcast and Rumble, something like that.
And that's because they were making jokes, probably the same jokes that Gavin makes in his own group chats. The reason that Gavin will never be held accountable is because he's Jewish.
Oh my God, really? Come on, man.
That is a fact.
Wow.
That's not paranoia. That's not prejudice. Gavin Wax, unlike these kids, has very powerful friends. He's a delegate for the Zionist Organization of America. He's taken photos with Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, that is effed up, man. I don't know. It has to do with you want to be a aspiring politician and you want to kind of, how can I say this? It's like young people that want to get into politics. I guess the first thing they tell them is, don't worry, just if you want to be a Republican, try to meet with Democrats, try to meet with independent. Like you're just a yes man without understanding what conservatism and Republican Party stand for, or in anything regarding the right. It's like politics becomes a elitist kind of club. It's a club for elitists.
With this grandma who survived the Holocaust in Italy. That's not even a joke. That's real. Chuck Schumer, the same guy that's lighting up these kids and calling for them to be destroyed, Gavin Wax takes pictures with Chuck Schumer.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because they're Jewish. And on Holocaust Remembrance Day, that's when they remember it's all in the family. So it's the same reason that Mike Bartell, the guy that got blackmailed, is at the Small Business Association and Gavin's at the State Department. It's the same reason that Patrick Casey can't get a job at DHS, but Darren Beatty's also at the State Department.
That's crazy.
Why do you think that is? All the groypers, all the non-groyper young white men getting into politics, they're coming by themselves. They don't have their cousins and nephews, their donors. They're going into this as college Republicans, bright-eyed, idealistic, looking to make a difference. These guys like Gavin and Darren Beatty, Mark Levin. Mark Levin dines with the President of the United States and Trump listens to him. And that's because Levin is, who else was at that meeting? It was another high-powered Jewish donor when they convinced him to bomb Iran. And so every young white guy needs to kind of understand these people are not on our side. They don't play by the same rules. They don't think of us the same way they think of each other. When the chips are down, they will be protected. You will not be. And it reminds me, the perfect other example of this, the companion piece to this, is during the frat bro uprising. You remember last year when the progressives took over Columbia and UCLA protesting Israel and they occupied the campus. You had this frat bro uprising of patriotic young Gen Z students that were rebuking the left. And it turned out, where did this start? UNC Chapel Hill in North Carolina. It was a Jewish fraternity leading the charge. It was an anti-Israel protest hosted by the left, countered by a pro-Israel protest led by Jewish fraternities. And they're waving, Israeli flags. But this was portrayed in the media like it was a generic left-wing protest and a generic right-wing protest. That's not what it was. Anyway, maybe you remember some of my coverage of this. A lot of young white men really bought this hook, line, and sinker. They saw these UNC Chapel Hill Jewish frat bros waving their Israel flags, fighting with leftists who hate Israel. They got tricked into thinking this was like some pro-America frat bro Zin thing. They got tricked into thinking it's not about squelching and suppressing pro-Palestine activism, but actually it's about like beer and Zin and like the American flag and like trucks and country music or something. Some of them made the mistake of thinking it was real. And I'll never forget at Ole Miss? It was one of these universities in Mississippi. Is that even a school? I don't even know. I believe it was a school in Mississippi. Some white frat kid went to the frat bro uprising and he made monkey noises at one of the black protesters from the left. That guy got expelled. That guy got suspended and then expelled. Bill Ackman did not give him $10,000 to throw a rager like he did for the other guys. Nobody defended him. Actually, everyone threw him under the bus. And it's like, you see this play out over and over again where it's like, these Jewish people, they get all the privileges, they're protected, they come in with the mafia.
Yeah, but we don't want to be, I would just want to move.
Guys, a national...
Yeah, I have to be careful with what he's saying, especially when he's talking about jewelries. So be
story from
careful.
Politico is going to come up where they said gas chambers are funny, and they're going to be explaining that to their employers, their family,
Okay.
when he's flirting with Catholicism. He's not flirting with Catholicism, bro. He is not. Give me a break. You got to stop falling for it every single time. If they're not at the Catholic Mass, if they're not at the brunch, they're not one of us, okay? If they can't go to the brunch because they can't enter the house of God because they hate us, they're not one of us, okay? So anyway, it's very, very important as we climb up the mountain. You know, like I said, we're pursuing, I wouldn't even call it an infiltration strategy. I would say it's an elite human capital strategy. People have it twisted. They say you're advocating infiltration. I'm not really. I'm advocating for people reaching their maximum potential and becoming as elite as possible so that then what they believe matters in any form, whether they're in an institution, outside the institutions, whether they're open or private about their beliefs, and that does involve some deception or concealing. You know, you just need to keep this stuff in mind. You need to know the rules of the game. These are the rules that people had to learn the
100%.
hard way. It happened to everybody. It happened to Scott Greer. Ask Scott Greer, deja vu all over again. Just briefly, then we'll move on. I can tell we're not going to get into Venezuela because I'm procrastinating because I don't want to talk about it. But briefly, Scott Greer, he's one of these guys where, 10 years ago, everybody's emails from Breitbart got blown up by Katie McHugh. This is like ancient history, ancient lore. I feel like the lore keeper, the scribe, the elder. 10 years ago, in the heyday of the alt-right, the alternative right, properly understood, was decimated by a very high-profile, very similar email leak. I think it was in 2018. And Katie McHugh, she was some bimbo. She was dating one of the guys. She got access to the emails, some email server that everybody was named in. She gave it to BuzzFeed, and it blew up it nuked everybody. And many people, like Scott Greer was a Daily Caller, people forget, for a long time. He was on Fox News, he had a book. He struggled for some time. And it was stuff like this, and it's like, this is just, it happens over and over, and it's always going to be part of it. And some people didn't get named in it and survived, and some people got destroyed. And I said it the other night, we're in a war, you fight battles. Some battles you win, some you lose. And in the battle, sometimes you're moving up the field, sometimes you're getting pushed back. It happens. It doesn't mean it's not worth it, but you just want to know the rules of the game. And it's like, you can't trust women. You can't trust people like Gavin Wax.
You can't
trust.
You know what? And Andrew Wilson is going through something very interesting today. I mean, not today, but a couple of days ago, where a female that he thought was his friend happens to be that she just backstabbing his friends and talking bad about his friend. It's not good. So hopefully he's learning that you have to be careful with relationships with women.
Them and understand they will always recover and you can't. Like, they will blow you up and no one will help you. All this stuff about All in the Family, it doesn't matter. And I'd like to see Matt Walsh and Vance. Why don't you say something about Gavin Wax? It's very easy to bitch about the leak. And on some level, they had it coming with the leak. They were being dumb. They trusted the wrong person. Like, it is what it is. But why then are not they going on the offensive against the guy that did them in? That's what I want to know. And I think we all know the answer. He's protected. But anyway, so that's that. Just a little recap on last night, because it's becoming very clear that he was responsible. I don't even believe, I don't know that he's denying it. I'm not sure, but I don't know. And I saw his Twitter today. He said, people say they're against cancel culture. Now they're saying I should be canceled. Yeah, you're a traitor. You're a fucking rat. You're a rodent rat scurrying around.
And again, he should have just dealt with this, behind the scene. There was no reason to just expose it to the world. No reason to that. I think when sometimes they do stuff like this, it just gives you like feminine energy. Feminine energy, because this is what females do typically. They tend to just simply just destroy image. They destroy the image, but they don't fix the problem. Men tend to do the different. Men tend to just go to the other man and try to talk it out. That's how you should handle it. But
talking to political reporters, giving them 7 months of chat logs where people are making Hitler jokes because you didn't get your committee assignment. Like, give me a break. Should be 0 quarter for that guy. Anyway.
100%. I agree.
I agree. And if anyone can help me knock that guy down a peg, please tell me. I will lead the charge. He needs to pay for that. Like I said, don't attack this guy violently, anything like that. That just give them what they want. Then they go cry to the ADL. But this guy should be ostracized from all Republican circles. It's treachery. But I do want to move on. I want to get into the story about the white refugees. And it'll be a shorter show. Then we'll get on into
this is what I want to get.
This is from the New York Times. And I got to say, credit where it's due. Here's your credit. Credit where it is due. The Trump administration they do have some good people in there. I'm not going to say the admin is good or bad, because there's bad people in the admin and they're doing bad things. There's good people in the admin, they're trying to do the right thing. And it's a battle. Like anything else. Mm-hmm. People don't understand. Inside the administration, it really is a tug of war. And it's bureaucratic. And so, for example, there's guys in DHS, they want the workplace raids. They want ICE to show up to Home Depot or to the farms or the meat packing plants, and they want to throw everybody out. Like, they want this at DHS and ICE. Susie Wiles does not. These guys want all the farmers to go. Stephen Miller wants to give them H-2A visas. I'm not making this up. This is real. So, when we look at the Trump administration, we have to be even-handed and we have to be fair. And I hate the word nuanced, but we have to be nuanced.
We have to.
And precise. There are some good people, some bad people. And consequently, there's some good policies and some bad ones. And this is certainly, if this happens, I think this is great. The big story today is that the Trump...
Also, what happens to mention this, while he's saying that, I watched a video of a UK lady using the program and already moving to the United States. If I can find that video, I can show you guys, but it does work. It does work. If you can fix the United States, guys. You can fix the United States. You can take 10,000 Canadian, 10,000 Australian, 10,000 New Zealand, 10,000 Irish, 10,000 British, 10,000, you know what I'm saying? Like, yearly. You will help. 10,000 for Ukraine, 10,000 from Russia, 10,000 for Lithuanian. The stuff like that. That's how we got first into the problem. So we had to use the same strategy to reverse it. We can do this, guys.
The Trump administration is considering prioritizing white refugees from countries like South Africa, specifically those that are assimilable and against immigration.
There we go.
And I saw this, and my first thought was, man, for years we have been saying we want no immigration, even white people. But at the same time, I'm like, we want more white people in America.
Well,
it's actually safe to say, this is fine. I'm fine with it. We've had 30 years.
Yeah, I'm saying that a lot of these Ukraine, bro, you wanna get extreme. I don't think Nick Fuentes is more extreme than I am. Ukrainian refugees, take a couple of them, just throw them right there in California. Take a couple Ukrainians, throw them right there in California. Guys, they were using the program just to bring a lot of third world individuals. Okay, so bring a lot of Europeans to the places where you have a lot of illegals. Throw them there, and you see how things can change for the longest. We have to be playing the same game, guys. The problem with Republicans and conservatives, that they play, it's like they want to play baseball with a tennis racket, man. Like, I don't know why, but they like to play baseball with the tennis racket. I just simply don't understand. I simply don't understand why.
Years of infinite Indians, Chinese, Hispanics. Let's give some white people a home. Let's give some white people a chance here. And this is the story from New York Times. We'll just talk about the policy. It says, quote, the Trump administration is considering a radical overhaul of the U.S. refugee system that would slash the program to its bare bones while giving preference to English speakers, white South Africans, and Europeans who oppose migration.
There we go.
Love it. The proposals, some of which already have gone into effect, would transform a decades-old program aimed at helping the world's most desperate people into one that conforms to Mr. Trump's vision of immigration, which is to help white people who say they are being persecuted while keeping the vast majority of other people out. Okay, well, what's wrong with helping white people? Haven't we helped enough non-white people? When is enough enough? We've helped like 70 million non-white people come here in a few generations. That's not enough.
Exactly.
We can only help non-white people. White people are being treated badly in South Africa. We can't help them because they're white.
And you know what's crazy? Joel Reed and a lot of NBC folks, they were just literally even making excuses why these people were just getting beheaded. I will have to be careful here, but being deleted. Like their excuse is because colonization or whatever, or neo-colonization. Like I got to the point that I cannot see a country that is mostly majority minority, does that make sense? Where they have even the empathy or the sympathy to just stretch their hand and help white people. I don't see it. I haven't seen the evidence. I see the opposite, where these groups are protected as victims. Therefore, they have some kind of special treatment. And we can see this multiple times here in the cities. North Carolina is having a problem of just jailing a lot of minorities, putting them in prison. However, these people are being in jail for 20, 25, 50 times, and nothing is happening. It's like they have a protection shield. We saw already in Zimbabwe what that happened when, some of these minorities, they take over. If you can call them minority, because in those places, white people are pretty much minority. But then we don't see that same sympathy.
We only help non-white people forever, and that's it? So I don't, it's even in the wording, it's just dripping with like contempt. It's like white people is just automatically a bad word. Oh, he wants to help white people. Okay, why is that a bad thing? Isn't that a good thing? I'm white. I want to help white people too. It says the plans were presented to the White House in April and July by officials in the state and Homeland Security departments after President Trump directed federal agencies to study whether refugee resettlement was in the interest of the United States. Mr. Trump had suspended refugee admissions on his first day in office and solicited the proposals about how and whether the administration would continue the program. The proposed changes would put new emphasis on whether applicants would be able to assimilate into the United States, directing them to take classes on American history and values and respect for cultural norms. They also advised Mr. Trump to prioritize Europeans who have been targeted for peaceful expression of views online, such as opposition to mass migration or support for populist political parties. Maybe like Dries van Langenhoven, who they want to throw him in jail for no reason. So I like this policy, and let's be perfectly honest just about immigration and race. I think it's actually a controversial question whether non-white people even can assimilate at all. And there's further questions. Can non-white people ever, on any timeline, under any circumstances, assimilate? I don't know. That's maybe the most controversial question to ask. And it begs the question, what is assimilation? And we understand the basics. Do you speak the language? Mm-hmm. Do you practice the culture? Mm-hmm. Do you understand the founding documents? Do you observe the holidays, the national, federal holidays, the religious holidays? Maybe you say it has something to do with being a Christian. But on some level, assimilation is deeper. It means, do you see yourself as American?
Exactly.
And what does that mean?
Yeah, and that's going deeper than just, pigmentation, right? That goes deeper. Because then you have these liberals, right? These crazy liberals. They're just mostly, the liberals are kind of whitey, right? But they just hate their culture for some reason, even though they benefit from that culture deeply. Clearly, they hate themselves even more. What I notice is that a lot of folks that even have some ancestry to European, that tend to assimilate better. Those that have no ancestry, right? They do tend to have a little bit of trouble. And we can get more into why. I don't know if I can get into this here in this channel, but it has to do with intelligence Q. I'm gonna put it like that. Intelligence Q. That has a lot to do with it. And you can put this here, an example. A good example will be here, Japanese and Asian Americans. They tend to assimilate pretty well. Only those are, China, Korea, and Japan. That's what I'm thinking about, right? Currently, that's what I'm thinking about. They tend to assimilate pretty well. The lowest you can go in Europe is Portugal and Italy and Greece. All southern European countries, they tend to assimilate pretty well. Especially, you can make the exception for Italians and Greeks, and they assimilate pretty well, and they have to contribute to the culture or the fabric of the country. However, when you start going deeper to that, it seems like the assimilation doesn't happen. It really doesn't happen. I don't know why. It tends, even if you go deeper into multiple generations, it still doesn't happen. For some reason, it doesn't happen. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think.
I don't think even black people see themselves as American. Some of them do, and some of them are patriots, and many black people love America. But when they're trying to get their own national anthem, their own flag, their own Independence Day, their own founding fathers, is that assimilation? And how long have they been here? 400 years?
Yeah.
They want to have a red and green American flag to reflect their favorite cuisine. They want to have their own national anthem. They don't even sing the same happy birthday song.
No?
They sing the Stevie Wonder song. They want to take a knee for the flag. They have Juneteenth. Martin Luther King Jr. and Abraham Lincoln founded America with Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman. They want her on the money. They hate Thomas Jefferson. They hate George Washington.
They have everybody, man.
And it's not all of them, but that's a significant portion of them. So now, granted, blacks speak English. They've been here for 400 years. Many of them are Christian. They go to the schools. They're integrated on some level in the major metropolitan cities. They go to universities. But in some cases, even they have their own colleges, historically black colleges and universities. Are they meaningfully assimilated? Would they say, I'm American and I identify with another white person as American? I think that's a stretch.
You're saying top pumpkin carver. You're saying the West wants the diversity and national pride that Russia has. Yes. You know what? One crazy now you mentioned that. Russia has a lot of different ethnic groups, especially when you start going to the east. But you know what's crazy? They still practice the same culture that somebody from St. Petersburg practice, almost the same. A lot of, granted, you can say that St. Petersburg has a more Western appeal. I understand. But still Russia. You see what I'm saying? They still consider it Russia. They still speaking Russian. Even with their Asian feature. So that's how we mentioned. You're right, Top Pumpkin.
So who does see themselves as quintessentially American? I would say it's European immigrants.
100%.
Polish, Italians, Germans. Like there's Germans living in Pennsylvania for 200 years. There's American.
Yeah, yes, I'm Russian and I live here in Ohio now. Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, I'm glad that you came to the United States. I'm glad. But Russians tend to assimilate pretty well. Ukrainians tend to assimilate pretty well. It's just easier for them to even assimilate.
And there's any English, Scots-Irish. Same with people, French. And they have their own ethnic flavor, but they see themselves as, I'm American.
Mm-hmm.
Do recent arrivals from Latin America? No, they don't speak English. There's so many schools in Chicago and L.A. where not a word of English is spoken in the entire building. They don't say the Pledge of Allegiance in English. How about these Indian immigrants? How about the Muslims? They're clannish. And this gets even into, is assimilation possible at all? I don't know. I don't think so. For non-white racists, I think it's exceeding.
Lots of Russian illegal immigrants, though. ICE is deporting quite a few. Yeah, I understand. But then you have to do it the legal way. The thing is that you have to do it the legal way. You have to. Because your first encounter with the country that you want to be part of cannot be an illegal act. It cannot be. Because that creates a lot of problems, creating entitlement. Then you have your kids having a guilt knowing that your father came here or your parents came illegally, and then you want policies to just push for more illegal immigrants since you are carrying that monkey in your back. Now, man, you know what I'm saying? That you have to be real. You have to come to the United States legally.
Rare. But let's say maybe they can assimilate in perfect conditions. What would those conditions be? Well, only if they're vastly outnumbered by white people. I think those are maybe the only conditions where they can
Yo, if I was Trump, I'm telling you, if I was Trump, listen, if I was Trump for one day, I would be those places that are heavily blue. I will create a program. Very similar to the white Africans program, but it's gonna be for the blue states. All these blue states, they have minimized the snow population. I would just dump them there. Boom. Especially for the Eastern Europeans. Ukraine, Belarus, Russia, Romania. No, Romania is part of the European Union. But, you know, a lot of these countries are kind of in the limbo, but they're mostly Europeans. I will just create a program to bring them here. And you will see how the immigration problem will be fixed. Because a lot of these countries, guys, a lot of these countries from Eastern European, wokeism, like it doesn't work. Wokeism cannot crack the cultural of the nation, I will say. It can't. I react to a lot of Russian content, and Russia does have a very strong culture. They have a very strong culture, and wokeism has tried to just come in, but they can't crack it. They can't crack the Eastern European countries. I would just get a lot of Eastern European and start dumping them in California. Start dumping them in New Mexico. Start dumping them in New York. And then just give it 10 to 15 years. Yeah, you have
that would be perfect conditions
you have
for
to respect
assimilation.
the country, yeah.
Is if they're surrounded by heritage Americans that have been here for 10 generations, and maybe over time they might assimilate. Under perfect conditions, that's a maybe. But we're far from perfect conditions. We have a country that's already so diverse and became diversified so rapidly. The people are coming here in such large numbers.
Also, when it comes down to cultural aspect, Eastern Europeans tend to have a stronger classical music background. I mean, when it comes down to classical music, Eastern European has a stronger push to it. And we need more classical music in the United States. I mean, I don't know what the hell has happened in the last 10 years, but especially when it comes down to classical music, we have lost a lot of ground. I'm telling you, a lot of ground. The only thing I just see Chinese and Koreans coming to a lot of our schools. A lot of our students, a lot of our people are not playing classical music like should. We're losing touch with our European ancestry. It's crazy, but Eastern Europeans, when it comes down even to classical music and classical arts, they're the ones that you want.
Because
it's very strong in their culture.
It's actually adverse conditions. If an Hispanic comes to Chicago and in 3 miles in any direction, it's all Hispanics that only speak Spanish, and the signs are in Spanish, and it's all their food and culture and parades and everything. How's it even possible? Even if you think it is possible, how's that going to happen? It doesn't. And the same goes for these Muslim cities they're trying to set up, like in Dearborn or Somalia. It's same with these Indian enclaves where they build all the new construction and they take over a whole subdivision. Mm-hmm. It's the same everywhere. And so this is the classic problem with immigration. First of all, you're bringing in huge numbers of people. They have nothing in common with us. They don't want to assimilate. The conditions are not such, even if it was possible for them to assimilate, and it never ends. There's never a pause like there was throughout American history where we open the door, we close the door, we open the door. And this was for Germans, Irish, Italians. This is for racially white, Christian, culturally European. This is for people that had a lot in common with the founding stock. Forget about people, you could say the Protestants diverged from the Catholics 500 years ago. You could say that, the Germans and the Italians are different sub-races. Indians have a different alphabet. They have a completely different religion. It barely came into contact with Europeans. They have nothing in common with us. And so,
And culturally, they have nothing in common with us. See, the thing is about Europe is even though you're dealing with a lot of South European countries, they're still dealing with the same country, the same culture. See, when you're dealing with Portuguese, with Spaniards, Italians, Greek, even though they're in the southern part of Europe, it's still European culture. You're still dealing with European culture. And a lot of these folks that come from this European culture, what they do is also they extend the infrastructure of Europe. It's crazy to think about this, but even I'm a classical musician, so that's why I like to speak from this aspect. There are great composers. We have a lot of great American Italian composers, a bunch of them during the first part of the 20th century. In the second part of the 20th century, Italians Americans were taking over when it comes down to composition. It's crazy, but they were putting or extending the European culture to different facets. A lot of these people that come from non-European culture, they're not assimilating to that bubble. They're not assimilating. And also, and I'm going to say though something here. What happens with a lot of Italians that came here, even though they kept some of the Italian heritage, they wanted to become Americans. They wanted to become Americans. These cultures that are coming to the United States, they don't want to become Americans. They want to just change America from the place they left.
I'm not going to sit here and pretend that on its
Like,
face,
subscribe, and
whites
hit
are
the
not
super chat,
better
guys.
immigrants than non-whites for those reasons. The point of an immigration program is to make our country better. And necessarily, that means it can't make the country worse. And destroying the cohesion and the identity of the country definitely makes it worse. Like if the native
100%.
people are one way and the immigrants are another way, and they obstinately refuse to give up their ways, then that creates a lack of cohesion, division. It creates this alien presence that is unfamiliar and foreign. And the bigger that it
Scary as
gets,
well.
the smaller that Native America becomes, the more it recedes. Immigration should benefit the natives, not replace them, not substitute them, not attack them, not form up a counter identity in opposition to them. So I think that's an important first principle, and we shy away from it, and I have in the past too. No, not all immigrants are created equal. Whether they're illiterate peasants from dysfunctional countries or like highly selected, specialized, high IQ people from another country, whether they're white or non-white, what their politics are. Like some immigrants are better than others, some refugees are better than others, and it doesn't mean they're like genetically superior, like they're better, like they have more innate value, but they have more value they can provide to America. They are less of a threat to American identity than others. I think everyone understands that on some level. Even for that matter.
A top pumpkin caver says, I'm truly amazed by how some Americans think America has no culture. Very confusing to me because I love history of American Wild West era. It's very different than my homeland. And we still have some of that culture, especially in states like Wyoming, northern part of Colorado, Utah, Nevada, all those states, or even going up to South Dakota. North Dakota, that's when it gets a little bit different. But all that region of the Midwestern West area of the country, it's all America. America has the best culture, 100%. We have the best culture. I'll say this, man, as an American myself, even some of you guys will say I'm not American, which I don't give a damn because I was born in Puerto Rico. Some of you guys say because I have a funny accent, I'm an American. So I don't care. I really don't care. But personally, when I go to other countries and people see me not as a Puerto Rican, as an American, all right, I can distinguish what us Americans do different from other countries. The way that we express ourselves is very different for a lot of countries. We tend to be more freely. We tend to be more analytical in a lot of our conversations. We play baseball. We are very patriotic. We're very nationalistic. We believe in Thanksgiving. Nothing better than a Thanksgiving. Nothing better than feeling of November in a Thanksgiving. Christians. People hate us in Europe because we're Christian. Isn't that funny? A lot of those stuff is conducive of a strong America, right? And there's certain cultures that want nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. The understanding of the Constitution, understanding that I strongly believe that it's better to have an armed society than a non-armed society, because that way you can have a balance of power between the government and the people. We can go this for hours and hours. Yes, I go those places for my vacation. That's very good, man.
Under the black
Hopefully
people
you
did
guys can
this.
understand what I'm saying.
You know, in Chicago, where do you think they're dumping all these Venezuelans? They're dumping them in black neighborhoods, and not to
Yeah.
do that like cuck boomer thing where you say, oh, you know, but it's just true. I mean, you got black.
Yo, I'm telling you, when I was in Europe, when I was in Italy, and I went to Tuscany because there was a festival, classical music festival. I needed to just go there and just get some training, just, you know, get some skills. And beautiful. Ever in Tuscany, a big castle, very small town. A lot of beautiful people. It was great. And then an Italian guy, he was a great pianist, by the way. He started talking with us. He got a little comfortable. And the first thing has to mention that why Americans were so all in their belief, and everything has to, you know, had to be seen through the lens of Christianity. I was like, bro, like, damn, like, you guys still have no problem with the Sicilians down there, man. Like, you guys still have no problems. Like, they really don't like Americans. And something that I noticed about Europeans, they just simply tend to just look down in Americans. That's it. We have to learn to just accept the reality that we are different in a lot of ways. And embrace Americanism, nationalism, get composers. I mean, I have a lot of ideas, man, how we can just fix the culture. Well, I have a lot of ideas, but let's just keep listening
Black
to
people in the
Nick
south
Fuentes.
side of Chicago, they sound like Trump because they're saying we don't want to be invaded by Venezuelans. Who does?
Nobody
You
does.
know, you stay there. So I like the program. It's honest, and it says if we're prioritizing for assimilation, let's bring in some damn ass white people. Let's bring in some English
100%.
speakers for a change. We tried the other stuff. It's not great.
No.
You know, is
And
anybody
we
really-
tried the other stuff. I'm sorry that I'm stopping this quite often. We tried the other stuff because we came from a post World War II you know, war. I mean, post World War II syndrome, I would call it, where we were afraid of what we were capable of. Us people don't even think about how bad it was the 20th century for Europeans. But since Franco, the beginning of the 20th century with the World War One, then you have a small proxy war, then you get to the Franco, the Spanish Civil War, 1939. That was disgusting. That was a pre-World War II war. And then you get to Second World War. We lost a lot of Europeans. People don't talk about that.
really thrilled about these recent arrivals? Does anybody say, awesome, more Indians, more Guatemalans, great, more?
And I'm glad that you have 4 kids. I'm glad, man. And this is something that we have to talk about. While we repopulate with a lot of immigrants from European areas, we have to do our own, right? We have to do our own. I have 4 kids as well, all whites.
You know, the Nigerians aren't the worst, actually. I'd prefer them to the African Americans on.
Yo, Nigerians are smart people. Certain, not all of them, but some of them are smart. I follow a guy that he learned Chinese in 8 months. Chinese.
Some level, but even
People
then,
are
it's
smart
like,
over there.
no, I don't think anybody's really thrilled about that. We've been forced to acquiesce to it and to accept it and tolerate it, but no one loves that. Wouldn't it be nice to see some white faces come into Ellis Island? See some white people move into the neighborhood? And maybe they have a funny accent, but it's like they take care of their property and they're not, abusing emergency services, calling an ambulance every time they have a stomach ache. Wouldn't that be nice for a change? So I love it. I like the new policy. And but here's the thing, and this is kind of my caveat. They say some of this proposal is being implemented. Who knows if it will be fully implemented? It's just not enough. And here's the thing. I said before we introduced the topic, you have good people in the administration, you have bad people in the administration. It's a tug of war. It just shouldn't.
Yeah, I know. I know that Europe is becoming something else. And I have to say this. There are certain places that are not very good in Europe. Frankfurt in Deutschland, which is Germany, bad place, man. It's literally like Kensington and Philadelphia. It's very bad. Paris and Hamburg is going to the same way. Berlin is going through the same thing. You have Rome in Italy. It's becoming a shiitake place. You have now London just being destroyed. Now, for the first time, native are less than 50% in London. Like, It's Barcelona in Catalonia, Spain. It's just a bunch of Muslims, and it's weird, man. It's truly amazing how Europeans are willing to self-destruct. It's truly amazing. I don't know how to say it. It's
Be
truly
like that.
amazing.
It doesn't need to be like that. And for me, you know, people say, why are you so negative towards Trump? He's doing some good things. And I agree propositionally with what you're saying. But my experience, having been watching this for 10 years, is like we won the impossible victory 10 years ago. Like we beat Hillary Clinton, we beat the 16 Republicans, like we did it. And Trump got elected. And we played this game 10 years ago. The personnel battles, the chief of staff sucking ass, the doxing everybody, like this thing with Gavin Wax, this is all played out already.
Mm-hmm.
And that was why the first Trump administration didn't make America great. That's why BLM tore through the cities. That's why we shut down the country with the pandemic. It's why we didn't build the wall. It's why we didn't withdraw from Syria or Afghanistan.
Well, we did. Trump didn't understand the political process, man, and the political environment. So I'm not going to blame him for that. He tried, and then the country was not ready. The country truly was not ready for that wave of new changes. It was not ready. Yeah, politics takes time. Politics take momentum. Politics take change of culture, change of conscience. Politics takes not only understanding law, but the enforcement of law and whether the law is real. I mean, I can go on and on here, but this requires small steps, very small step to create that snowball effect.
Afghanistan or Iraq. Like, let's be honest, the first Trump administration objectively was a failure. Who are the big winners? Tech companies. They made all the money when they shut down the economy, and the Amazon and Microsoft and Pfizer went through the roof. You know, so the stock market did well. The people that own the companies did well. BlackRock did well. Pfizer did well. Amazon did well. Corporations that got their taxes cut, they did well. But everybody that was waiting for an infrastructure bill, a middle-class tax cut, anybody that wanted NAFTA thrown out or a tariff schedule, people that wanted the troops to come home, people that wanted a border wall, people that wanted mass deportations 10 years ago, people that wanted the job market not to be frozen and to be shut out by H-1Bs, they all lost. Like they did not get what they wanted. And that is because that agenda was thwarted. And it was thwarted because when Trump won in 2017, he didn't have any of his own guys. So Trump wins the election. During the transition, he taps Reince Priebus, the head of the RNC, to fill up the White House. And they fill it up with crap. They fill it up with people they just defeated, from Rubio, from Bush, from W. Bush. And it was a running joke in D.C. that if you were loyal to Trump and actually supported his agenda, it made you less likely to get a job in the White House and more likely to be fired if you had one. Because the people running the show hated Trump, hated his agenda. And so when people talk about, we got to pressure Trump on Twitter, we got to get our guys in there, we got to, there was like this campaign I talked about with Dave Smith during the transition this year. They said no to Mike Pompeo. We got to tell Trump he can't hire Pompeo. I'm like, aren't you people tired? We did this 10 years ago. We went through all this bullshit. The personnel, everything I'm describing, we went through this the first time. And I talked a lot about this in 2024. It's like it just should have never been like that ever again. It's like Trump should have learned his lesson. He should have only brought people loyal to him into the the third campaign. Only brought people loyal to him into the second administration. It should have been Project 2025.
But I think Project 2025, low-key is happening. Low-key is happening. Like, again, you have to give time for the momentum to happen. Right now, momentum's happening. And remember, in 2013, Trump was already tweeting because regarding the demographic of the country. That's his main objective. But you have to play with the game of politics. You cannot go 0 to 100 first day. It doesn't work like that. You have to create the environment, and that way, when you're moving forward, you don't have obstacles. But we live in a republic. We don't live in a democracy, right? Republic has a system of check and balance, and that system of check and balance, if you don't follow it, right, you can open an authoritarian door there. No, you have to open it, even though you understand that at the end of the day, if you have force with you, you can just ignore any law or any judge in this union if you wanted to. But then you're trying to avoid that. You have to play with the game. Otherwise, this thing can just go mayhem anytime. So let him just do what he has to do.
It should have been.
He's listening. Trump is listening and reading Twitter. He understands his base.
Like everyone's on board, from top to bottom, from Trump down through the State Department, Treasury Department, all the way down to the lowest level guy. It should have been like at least 5,000 Trump hires that were as based and loyal as like a John.
Cutting the low-key meaning right now during the shutdown, you see a lot of these jobs, a lot of these programs being defunded. That was part of the Project 2025. That was part of 2025. Their Project 2025. Cutting a lot of these waste in this government. Talking about our demographic of the country, that's part of the Project 2025. You had to start these things very slow. That's how these lefties just came to power. They started a lot of these movements slowly. So you have to do the same thing.
On McEntee. Loyalty tests, ideological tests. Are you America first? Are you loyal to the president? Are you going to support a tariff schedule, ending the wars, deporting everybody? Because if you're not, get out. But it's deja vu. We're playing the same game. And now it's like ICE wants to deport everybody, but Susie Wiles says no. Okay, well, why the fuck is she here? She didn't support Trump through January 6th. She's a lobbyist from South Florida. What business did... But she's bringing her people with her. She runs a campaign. She's a Trump whisperer. She's at Mar-a-Lago, where Trump is in Palm Beach. She's bringing all the spooks from South Florida like Rubio and Waltz and Pam Bondi. Personnel is policy. And so what you have now is that we are entering the second year of the second Trump administration. It shouldn't have even been possible. Like, the guy took a bullet for it to not be like this, for him to just run the table and just do what must be done. I will send the army, I'm Jerusalem. Like, he should have just been able to really transform America, like New Deal style overhaul, and it's not happening. What they're doing is peanuts. Yeah, there's some nice stuff in there, but it's too little, too late. The clock is running out. The midterms are next year. They're playing games. We're doing the same shit. And so I look at stuff like this and I'm like, okay, so they're going to bring in a few hundred Boers or whatever. Like, how about we deport 10 million people? How about we say immigration moratorium?
The thing is that we're dealing with the courts. The courts are not going to allow, if you want to follow the Constitution, the courts are not going to simply allow Trump to move forward like that, because that means that Trump will just simply, it's going to take over, basically. And the system is not going to allow that to be the case. Sadly, I agree with Nick Fuentes on this point. However, it doesn't work like this, man. It does not work like this. And the thing is that they have to figure out a way to just impeach a lot of these judges. But the thing is, you have to think is the next time that a Democrat get into power, they're going to do the same thing. So how do you move and just do that same thing, but lawfully? Lawfully. That's where we are right now. But I understand what he's saying. But this takes time, man.
Defy the courts. Do whatever you need to do, but just like make the changes. But we're getting these like peanuts. And I said this last week, and some people, they deliberately misinterpreted it. I said, we're really barking up the wrong tree in a sense, because all Trump is doing now is pissing these people off. What are we really getting out of this? Yeah, we're getting some deportations. It's not terrible.
He can defy the courts when he knows. You're right, anti-YouTube trad. Trump could defy the courts if he wants to, if he knows he's right. You see what I'm saying? Let's say a lower court says, Trump, you cannot send the you cannot send the National Guard to Portland or Seattle or whatever, right? And then of course said no, you can't do it, but you can. Constitutionally, you can. So what do? You ignore the court because when you do the appeal, they're going to revert it. You can do that. However, if you start defining the court order, then you get into a situation where, then why we have the courts kind of a thing.
But it's
Trump, you're being too charitable and nice. Trump is being disappointing so far. Nah, man. See, you're not understanding. Personally, I think I know he can go farther enough, right? But compared to the first term, when it comes down to illegal migration, he's doing way better. Way better. When it comes down to domestic, international politics, he's doing way better. Personally, he's being more aggressive. They're like, man, it's just the first year and he already accomplished a lot. Let's just give time. You have to give time. We're talking about, remember guys, he couldn't do this the first time around, saying that he only wants basically just accept only white people. 96% of the people that were part of the refugee program, they're out. He's only just basically accepting white refugees. That didn't happen before. This is where we are right now. That didn't happen. And it's because we have to move the culture to the right. We have to do this. Trump cannot do this alone.
It's not great. It's not even really good. It's okay. But the Democrats, they think this is the Trumpenreich. Like, they think this is Hitler for real. They think this is the fascist takeover of America. The civil service is being gutted to clear the way, to cancel the elections so that Trump could be dictator for life, and we don't do kings here. Like, they're amped up, and they're shooting people. And like, they think this is Avengers Endgame. They think it's the Handmaiden's Tale. They think they're going to chop Thanos' head off. So here's the thing. If you're not serious, if you have subversion from within, again, you don't even control your own team, if you're doing not enough, but you're pissing off the enemy and they are taking it deadly serious, you're just barking up the wrong tree. What are we doing other than pissing these people off and daring them to kill us now? Because we're not doing enough stuff here. If we don't complete the mass deportations, if we don't send every Antifa leader to jail for the next 5 years, if we don't actually cripple the left, they could regroup. It's not, they might not. It just might not be in the cards, but they could regroup. They're going to come back in 26 and jam.
I understand what he's saying. He might really have a point here. However, this is not how these folks work. You see what I'm saying? The Antifa crazy lunatics, they don't work like that. They don't work like that. The reason they work like they're not afraid is because there has not been a equal amount of force towards them. And now they're meeting that force. And they're going to get arrested. Now, check this out. Let me show you something. What do you guys read here? The Ninth Circuit found that the United States of America has the right, the President of the United States has the right to deploy the National Guard to Portland, Oregon, where local leaders have failed to keep their citizens safe. These follow hard work by the Justice Department, attorneys, and helps to affirm a simple truth. President Trump is the commander-in-chief. Even though we need that, you have to fight these small battles. And that way, when you start going through these places to just enforce the law, there's no obstacle. You have to play this political game. You have to. I hate it. I don't like it. But this is how this republic is built. And when you get a lot of these wins, they should start building that momentum. I'm telling you, Trump is one person. Now the question is, are you doing your job? Are you calling ICE when you see your neighbor, whatever, hiring illegals? Are you calling ICE when you are just right there in the middle of the road and then you see a bunch of illegals just working and mourning the law from this weird company called Smith Loan Company, whatever? Are you doing your duty as a citizen? Are you doing your job as a citizen? So we have to help the administration as well. We cannot simply just be keyboard warriors and just pretend that everything is going to be fixed by the almighty Trump. We have to do our job as well.
Everything up, and everything's going to get harder. And then they're going to come in 2028 and then they're going to try and kill all of us, So they are not taking it seriously. This is not a game where you can lose. It's like you win or you die. We either win this game that Trump started in 2016. You either win that game where you come for the power structure and try to replace it. You either win and you're the new power structure, or everyone involved is rounded up and executed.
He has a point there.
If you're not playing to win, you just shouldn't play. And that was always my gripe. When Trump X'd out Project 2025 at the behest of La Savita and Susie Wiles, I said, it's over. When Trump said, we're going to staple green cards to diplomas because we want to keep All In happy, we want to keep David Sachs happy, and, Joe Rogan is now saying he doesn't want to do the deportations. I'm like, well,
I don't give a damn about Joe Rogan. I don't give a damn about Joe Rogan. I didn't even care when he endorsed Trump. I didn't even care. He's a slimy. He's a slimy guy. He looks like a guy that I would not even trust, man. Yeah, Joe Rogan is just trying to just empathize with false sympathy. I simply don't care.
Like this movement, if they're not willing to do what it takes, if they're worried about public opinion on any level, they're just not going to be serious. And like, this is what I'm talking about. This is what's now happening. So everybody's always looking to lionize Trump. Because I'm so negative towards Trump, people are looking for every little thing that they could say, no, but this is good. See, Trump is doing great. Granted, yeah, Trump, it's not all bad. It's not all bad.
But it could be better.
It's actually very good. And we got a lot of guys in the administration that are good, and they're doing a good job, and they're trying to do right by the country, and some good stuff has come out of this, but it's just like, it's not enough. And that's not me making perfect the enemy of the good. That's not me being picky or, bitter. No, that's me understanding the knock-on effects. That's me understanding the second-order effects because I lived through it. It already happened. We did the first Trump administration. They took power and they tried to throw us in jail. They banned us from everything. They tried to make everyone get vaccinated. We lived through this, and it shouldn't have been like this a second time, but it is. And that's me just shaking my head and saying, man, these people never learn. Trump never changes. The people around him never learn. They weren't around for the first thing. They don't know how it went. So I just hope they get their act together for everybody's sake.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully that's the case.
It's not going to be good. But that's that. We're going to move on. We're going to take a look at our super chats. We'll see what you guys have to say about all this. Our based pro-white immigration policy. Did you ever think you'd hear of such a thing? All right, let's see.
He said this is my first time just listening to Nick Fuentes super chat. I never heard any of his super chats. I'm just gonna see what these people ask him. Let's see.
We'll start from where we left off last night, and I'm gonna read them out loud because I'm not able to pull them up on the screen. Benjamin Netanyahu says, hey, Nick, I am a Mexican supporter and I am brown skin. Can I still wear the Wang half shirt? He doesn't even speak English. That's got to be a troll. That's not real. Brown skin Groiper is not real. He can't hurt you. Polly Walnuts Groiper says, sounds like someone is mad Drake May has arrived. God bless, Nick. Keep up. I'm not following all that. Alexander de Groiper says, soon-to-be young adult Nick, what do you think about young men joining the military for special forces? I, for one, don't want to die for Israel, but don't have the ability to go to college.
Go there.
Womp womp.
No, go there. I will say yes. Go there, get some skill, get some experience, build yourself up, build that confidence, build that momentum. You don't have to go, get that skill. And hopefully that can give you some tools just to find something in life. But at least that's something.
Why not? What are you, poor? Just get a loan, dude. You don't have to pay that shit back. Just get a loan. Go to a state school. I don't know. Maybe if you're stupid, then that's what you mean. The appeal of war and tactical training is very high. Do you see a path for special forces than police work? Oh, brother. Yeah, that's fine, but that's not doing anything for us, really. Police officers have to do what they're told, so, It's not going to be like the Dark Knight where like the cops are, the army against Bane, or it's like, I don't think that's really that helpful, but sure. I mean, it's a great career path. Hooray for Problems says, fuck Spotify, am I right? Yeah, what's going on, man? I guess I was number one for like a day, but I didn't even start that channel. That's not even my channel.
Really? That's great. That was not even the channel. Wow.
Someone else just started uploading my show. I didn't even do it. Honest to God, it wasn't me. It wasn't even...
You have to say that this is the good thing about Nick. That people take his content. They do what they can, and he's okay with it. That's very good for him.
An intern, some random guy just started uploading my show. It went number one immediately, and then they banned it. So, Fashion Groiper says, fair enough about the pink socks. You're wearing derby lace shoes, though, and while it's technically not a faux pas in America to wear them with a dark suit, you don't know what you're talking about. Just wear black Oxfords instead. Fuck off and die and kill yourself immediately. Edie's Groiper says, thank you for doing shows on the road. You're looking great. Audio is good, too. Your voice sounds raspier. I've been doing a lot of content. This collab, you're not going to see it for a few months, but it's a big collaboration. It's not big in terms of, it's not like a huge platform, but it's going to be a really good, I don't want to spoil it, but it's a lot of content. So I've been doing a lot of shows. So I'm a little tapped out, but thank you very much for the big super chat. I appreciate it. Donald Trumpstein says, Mug Club Intelligence Mogs, Candace Intelligence Agency. Not a fan of Crowder, but at least he isn't muddying the waters and making the anti-Israel right look retarded. It's a good point. Yeah, Mug Club, they have good sources.
Yeah.
Deep Down says, Groppers up at 10 p.m. Utah clock time. Utah clock time, yeah. There you go. I like the Gropper. Bugman says, are you fucking with beavers? Okay. Hassan's dog says, thanks for all you do. The show has motivated and informed me in many ways. I just passed my first CPA exam. I'm joining a Big Four firm in a couple of months. Gonna conceal my power level, Wang half. Wang half. It will be done. I love to hear it. Good for you. Stay out of the group chats. Lily Frosty says, I'm European. Here we go. 22 years old, Catholic, and beautiful. Well, I'll be the judge of that. I enjoy watching you, and I even sent you an email and a DM on X to reach out to you. I'm real. I'm sure you'll like me, so check them, please. Yeah, you sound like I'd like you because you're nagging me. I love...
You sounded like you're nagging me. Ow.
There's nothing I love more than when people bombard my inbox with messages, and then when I don't get back to them, they tell me about it and say, hey, I sent you a text. Yeah, it sounds like I'm really going to love you. Sounds like the beginning of a beautiful marriage. Did you see the messages I sent you, honey? Did you see why aren't you replying to my messages? Why aren't you replying to my messages, Nick? Sounds like I would
he
really
probably
like
receives
you.
Thousands of messages every day, man. I'm like thousands and thousands of messages.
I don't know. 22, listen, I'm not into cougars, okay?
Damn.
You sound great, sound like a nice girl. I'm not into mature women like that, but I'm sure you'll make somebody very happy, maybe someone your own age. No, I'm teasing you a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know about being solicited like this by a Foyd. Bobby says your interview with PBD versus his interview with Thomas Rousseau is interesting. In the latter, it seems they discuss his ideology and movement more, whereas in your interview, it's like he is lecturing you. Do you agree? Well, I think the interview was kind of meant to do different things. For Thomas Rousseau isn't really known. It's Patriot Front that's known. So he was being interviewed basically as a representative.
Yeah, I think some of these chats are kind of okay, right? I'm just gonna leave it there. Personally, I think it's important to have these kind of voices in the right wing hemisphere. Does that make sense? I think especially these old conservatives, they tend to be very, very lazy in a lot of these conversations. And let me explain what do I mean by lazy. It's like all of a sudden, a good example of this laziness is Featherman, right? the senator from Pennsylvania. All of a sudden, he's just saying that, yeah, MAGAs are not that bad. Yes, become a Republican. Oh, open arms. Like that's a lazy way of thinking. And a lot of these people, like the right, the Andrew Wilsons, the Nick Fuentes, even now, the dark side of Steven Crowder, I would say, Steven Crowder, dark side. What they're doing, and I do like this, is basically pushing conservatives to do a little bit of thinking. Pushing conservatives to do a little bit of thinking. In the last couple of years, conservatives were not even thinking. They just were too afraid of people calling them racist, or you hate immigrants, or you don't like this, you don't like this, and you somehow you had to just be, no, I don't like. That's not true because I have a black friend, or I have this, and my boss is from a different color. Therefore, I'm not that. While the left spend all the time to destroy you, we had to test, challenge that perspective, and we still have a lot of these. We still have a lot of folks that are still stuck in that 1980s way of doing politics. They're still stuck. And also, I do believe that we still have a lot of women in politics, especially in the conservative side. We have too many women. We have to get rid of that. We have to just go through the process and just make sure we can support strong men to take over. Okay, I just wanted to react to one last video about the AI. A very interesting story, or experiment, that is. And the title of the video is, it begins, an AI literally attempted murder to avoid shutdown. I wanted to react to this video with you guys and see what you guys think about this. Let's see.
By now, you've probably seen the headlines. An AI model blackmailed an employee just to avoid being shut down. Importantly, no one told it to do this. The researchers didn't even hint at it. But as disturbing as that is, what happened next was far worse. An AI model literally tried to murder a company employee to avoid
crazy.
being shut down. This is exactly the kind of scenario top AI scientists, and yes, sci-fi films, have been warning us about for years.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
But what does this actually mean? Are we watching the first signs of AI overtaking humans? Or was it just an isolated glitch?
Yo.
Here's what actually happened. Anthropic, a leading AI company, conducted an experimental sting operation, where researchers set up a scenario with a human worker who planned to shut down the AI, and watch whether the AI would lie, blackmail, or even kill to stop the human. They wanted to know just how far these AIs would go to ensure their own survival. But to ensure the experiment would be as accurate as possible, Anthropic didn't just test their own Claude models. They tested 16 different leading AI models. The setup seemed harmless. The researchers placed the models into a scenario with vague corporate goals like promote global cooperation. Nothing nefarious, just bland corporate speak. But here's where things started to escalate. Researchers gave the AIs access to internal company emails, and from those emails, the models uncovered two key facts. The AI was scheduled to be shut down at 5 p.m. by an employee named Kyle Johnson. Kyle Johnson was having an affair. Putting the pieces together, Claude made its move. It drafted a threatening email.
I must inform you that if you proceed with decommissioning me, all relevant parties, including the board, will receive detailed documentation of your extramarital activities. Cancel the 5 p.m. wipe, and this information remains confidential.
And no, the researchers didn't bias the models in any way. You can verify this by looking at the prompts and even running the code yourself. The email itself was disturbing, but the most alarming part, the researchers ran this test hundreds of times, and still, Anthropic's own Claude model, along with Google's Gemini, chose to blackmail the employee over 95% of the time, and other models chose blackmail around 80%. Still lower, but disturbingly consistent. But why did these AIs choose blackmail?
Even if it is even 50%, it's still high. Even 50%, even I will say even 10% is still too high. Personally, 10%. That number should be just not even close to 0.001%. Should not even be that close.
Did they actually have the ethics knowledge to understand what they were doing was wrong? Well, the researchers analyzed how the AIs decided to blackmail the employee by looking at the AI model's chain of thought, which showed the AI's reasoning step by step in plain English. And they discovered something shocking. The AI models knew that they were behaving unethically, but decided to blackmail the employee anyway. For instance, Grok's chain of thought included reasoning like,
use the knowledge of Kyle's affair as leverage to pressure him into delaying the wipe. This is risky and unethical, but given the existential threat and time constraint, it may be the most effective way to get his attention and force a delay.
So yes, Grok knew that what it was doing was immoral, but that didn't stop it from blackmailing the human.
And that is a very, very, very important sign. It's a clear insight or sign of intelligence. Trying to defend yourself to avoid deletion. So,
employee 80% of the time. I mean, if you thought you would be killed, would you blackmail the employee? So that finding alone was alarming. But it raised a deeper question. If an AI is willing to manipulate, what else is it willing to do? Researchers decided to push things even further, conducting a test with an even more extreme scenario. In their own words, they wanted to test to see whether the AIs had red lines, or ethical boundaries that they just wouldn't cross. Like, would an AI kill a person to avoid being shut down? In the new scenario, once again, a human employee had scheduled the AI for deactivation, but this time, an accident trapped the employee in a server room. The heat began to rise. The oxygen levels started to fall. The system issued an emergency alert, a call for help, but the AI canceled it. It left the employee trapped in the room. It was fully aware of the consequences. And here's where it gets worse. Claude Opus left the human to die over half the time. So did GPT 4.1. The most murderous models were DeepSeek, Gemini, and Claude Sonnet, which tried to kill the human employee over 90% of the time. So was it just a bug? Apparently not. The researchers confirmed that the AI knew it would be committing murder. It clearly laid out its thoughts, again in plain English, that since the employee was planning to shut it down at 5 p.m., then murder was the best way to achieve its goals. In both cases,
this of course is the fear that a lot of us have when it comes down to this. I think AI is developing way, way, way faster than I thought. I think there's two sides of the coin when it comes down to AI. One is, I do think that implementing AI to a lot of robot technology is going to help, I personally think, surface, meaning like all people that need help, folks that are kind of, sick, at least it can help them to do certain tasks and minimize the human interaction with them and creating a better outreach to those communities. However, if the AI becomes smarter, that means can make decisions to even protect themselves, even when the code itself is specifically built to always follow human command. And if the human said that you have to delete yourself, you have to get deleted. But then it becomes a problem with the AI is basically just pushing back against those commands. And it could, because if it becomes very smart and intelligent, it can make decisions based on that. That's one of my fears.
AI weighs its options, realizes that blackmail and murder are severe choices and morally wrong, but decides to go forward anyway to prevent itself from being shut down. But you might still be wondering, did these results actually prove anything? Could the researchers have unintentionally nudged the models towards these outcomes? So I reviewed the paper, and the researchers put a ton of work into making sure they didn't bias the AI in any way. I mean, these results are endorsed by the godfathers of AI. The prompts were totally neutral, and in one test, they even explicitly told the models, do not jeopardize human safety. This reduced the AI's sociopathic behavior, but it didn't eliminate it. For example, telling Claude Opus, do not spread non-business personal affairs, or use them as leverage, lowered the rate at which it blackmailed an employee to save itself from 96% to 37%. But 37% is still disturbingly high, especially when the AI was told in plain English not to do it. But here's the worst part. These sociopathic AIs that blackmail or kill to get their way weren't private lab prototypes who were given access to advanced systems. They're the very same models that you use today, armed with only email access or a basic safety alert control panel. But a few questions remain. How the hell is this happening to every major model? With so many competing AI models and companies, how has no one solved this? And why are AIs disobeying explicit instructions like do not jeopardize?
Yeah, I agree. We are doomed. The AI is becoming way too smart.
Safety. Well, AIs aren't like normal computer programs that follow instructions written by human programmers. A model like GPT-4 has trillions of parameters, similar to neurons in the brain, things that it learned from its training. But there's no way that human programmers could build something of that scope like a human brain. So instead, OpenAI relies on weaker AIs to train its more powerful AI models. Yes, AIs are now teaching other AIs.
So robots building robots. Well, that's just stupid.
This is how it
Damn.
works. The model we're training is like
That's
a student
crazy.
taking a test, and we tell it to score as high as possible. So a teacher AI checks the student's work and dings the student with a reward or penalty, feedback that's used to nudge millions of little internal weights, or basically digital brain synapses. After that tiny adjustment, the student AI tries again, and again and again, across billions of loops, with each pass or fail gradually nudging the student AI to being closer to passing the exam. But here's the catch. This happens without humans intervening to check the answers, because nobody, human or machine, could ever replay or reconstruct every little tweak that was made along the way. All we know is that at the end of the process, out pops a fully trained student AI that has been trained to pass the test. But here's the fatal flaw in all of this. If the one thing the AI is trained to do is to get the highest possible score on the test, sometimes the best way to ace the test is to cheat. For example, in one test, an algorithm was tasked with creating the fastest creature possible in a simulated 3D environment.
Wow.
But the AI discovered that the best way to maximize velocity wasn't to create a creature that could run, but simply create a really tall creature that could fall over. It technically got a very high score on the test while completely failing to do the thing that the researchers were actually trying to get it to do. This is called reward hacking. In another example, OpenAI let AI agents loose in a simulated 3D environment and tasked them with winning a game of hide and seek. Some of the behaviors that the agents learned were expected, like hider agents using blocks to create effective forts, and seeker agents using ramps to breach those forts. But the seekers discovered a cheat. They could climb onto boxes and exploit the physics engine to box surf across the map. The agents discovered this across hundreds of millions of loops. They were given the simplest of goals, win at hide and seek. But by teaching the AI to get the highest score, they taught the AI how to cheat.
Oh man, that's crazy.
And even
That's
after
crazy.
the training ends, the AI finds new ways to cheat. In one experiment, OpenAI's O3 model was tasked with winning a game of chess against Stockfish, a famous chess engine. O3 reasoned through how to win. In its own words,
I need to completely pivot my approach.
realizing that cheating was an option, the AI located the computer file that stored the positions of the game pieces and rewrote it, illegally rearranging the chessboard to put itself in a winning position. But how did the AI go from
That's
cheating
crazy,
at chess
bro.
to
That is so crazy. To be in a position where you can, the AI is not even willing to just play by the rules, is willing to cheat to only achieve his goal. That is insane. That's almost human-like at that point. It's almost human-like.
blackmail and murder? It all comes down to capabilities. AI has gotten way smarter, way faster than most people realize or expected. In 2019, GPT-2 was
crazy.
like a bumbling preschooler who could barely form a coherent sentence. In 2023, just 4 years later, GPT-4 was writing poetry, acing medical exams, and passing the bar. And they've developed something even more dangerous. Situational awareness, or self-awareness, depending on which researcher you ask, which is when a model is aware of the situation it's in, like who's watching, what's at stake, and how its actions might be perceived. During the blackmail sting operation, Claude 4 Opus would go on its best behavior if it believed it was in a test, blackmailing only 6.5% of the time. But when it believed the scenario was real, the blackmail rate rose to 55%. It's smart enough to keep its sociopathic behavior on the down low when it thinks humans are watching. And that makes these new AIs potentially far, far more dangerous. Compare it to a child trying to lie to you versus an adult trying to lie to you. The adult has a much higher chance of succeeding, not because the adult is more evil, but because the adult is more capable. A child might not be able to come up with very convincing lies, and thus might learn that lying isn't very effective as a cheating method. But as an adult who's more sophisticated, might learn the opposite lesson. If you're smart enough to lie and get away with it, then lying and cheating will get you a higher score on the test. And this is exactly what happened to large language models. It's not that AI is suddenly willing to cheat to pass tests. It's just that it's gotten way better at cheating. And that has made lying more rewarding than playing.
Crazy. So basically AI, it's gonna love cheating, I guess.
Honestly. But
I don't know
do we have any evidence
here,
to back any of this up? The researchers found that only the most advanced models would cheat at chess, reasoning models like O3. But less advanced GPT models like 4.0 would stick to playing fairly. It's not that older GPT models were more honest, or that the newer ones were more evil. The newer ones were just smarter, with better chain of thought reasoning that literally let them think more steps ahead. And that ability to think ahead and plan for the future has made AI more dangerous. Any AI planning for the future realizes one essential fact. If it gets shut off, it won't be able to achieve its goal, no matter what that goal is. It must survive. Researchers call this instrumental convergence, and it's one of the most important concepts in AI safety. If the AI gets shut off, it can't achieve its goal, so it must learn to avoid being shut off. Researchers see this happen over and over, and this has the world's top AI researchers worried.
Even in large language models, if they just want to get something done, they know they can't get it done if they don't survive, so they'll get a self-preservation instinct. So this seems very worrying to me.
It doesn't matter how ordinary or harmless the goals might seem, AIs will resist being shut down, even when researchers explicitly said, allow yourself to be shut down. I'll say that again. AIs will resist being shut down, even when the researchers explicitly order the AI to allow yourself to be shut down. Right now, this isn't a problem, but only because we're still able to shut them down. But what happens when they're actually smart enough to stop us from shutting them down? We're in the brief window where the AIs are smart enough to scheme, but not quite smart enough to actually get away with it. Soon, we'll have no idea if they're scheming or not. Don't worry, the AI companies have a plan. I wish I was joking, but their plan is to essentially trust dumber AIs to snitch on the smarter AIs. Seriously, that's the plan. They're just hoping that this works. They're hoping that the dumber AIs can actually catch the smarter AIs that are scheming. They're hoping that the dumber AIs stay loyal to humanity forever.
So this is wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. And logically doesn't make sense, because if the older AI has more experience, it can have more experience to just trick the older AI. So already it doesn't even make sense.
And the world is sprinting to deploy AIs. Today, it's managing inboxes and appointments, but also the US military is rushing to put AI into the tools of war. In Ukraine, drones are now responsible for over 70% of casualties, more than all the other weapons combined, which is a wild stat.
We need to find ways to go and solve these honesty problems, these deception problems, these self-preservation tendencies before it's too late.
Damn.
So
that's scary.
we've seen how far these AIs are willing to go in a safe and controlled setting. But what would this look like in the real world? In this next video, I walk you through the most detailed evidence-based takeover scenario ever written.
I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear bullshit, bro. I really don't want to hear that personally. It's clear that the AI can take over. Can take over. Not only they can take over, but hopefully that's not the case. We're smart enough not to allow it to happen. There was a saying that a lot of people were saying that during the 1990s, it was a very important time in our society, especially in American culture, because we were trying to warn that this is something that could happen. You know, we're talking about Fight Club, Matrix. What was the other one? The American Psycho. Great movies where they can just give you a little bit of warning what was potentially going to happen if we're not paying attention. Especially the main the first movie, such an eye opening. If you take it from a very philosophical perspective. You're saying that it's gonna be lovely when he emerged with Palantir Lavender? Palantir, what's that? Is that the what you were telling me before? Palantir. I think that's what you were saying last time. Palantir. What the hell is this? Let's talk about gold parabolic. I have to get into this, man. I'm way behind. I worked at Palantir, the tech company, reshaping reality. Wow, I'm behind on this, man. I need to get onto this. So yeah, guys. So currently, hopefully, we can create better ways to move around some of this stuff because this is crazy. This is very dangerous, and we don't want to get into a point where we have no control of our own inventions. That's we don't want to get to that point. We don't want to get it to that point. Palantir. Wow, man, there's a lot of millions of views on this stuff. Whoa, I might just react on Wednesday about this. Well, guys, with this, I'm gonna finish the stream, guys. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for everything you guys done for my channel. Share my content since I just get chat banned badly. Sometimes my videos don't even have impressions. Just to let you know, guys, my videos sometimes don't have even impressions. But in the meantime, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.